So an older article about the Rings of Prime has popped up, and I have never read it, never seen it. But I can assure you that we can still look at it and have fun months later. Alright then, my friends, enjoy. Wes min friend, and welcome to yet another video. Oh my dear friends, please look at the screen. Look what a piece of gem I have found. Oh yes, therap.com. What to know before you watch The Lord of the Rings of Power. There's only one thing you need to know before you watch The Rings of Power. That you don't need to watch The Rings of Power at all. And you know why? Firstly, because it doesn't have anything to do with anything that Tolkien wrote. And secondly, because standing on its own, it is literally the worst show I have ever seen in my entire life. But you know that if you've been following me for quite some time. Nevertheless, we shall go through these points and prove therap.com wrong each and every time. This is an improvised video. I have only skimmed through these things, and already I know that I will be able to provide you with much better answers, not being prepared. And you don't even have to be an expert to know that, well, this is wrong. Alright then, my dear friends, shall we go through this? So the first point being, it takes place thousands of years before The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And no, it doesn't. You know why? Because as I've stated at the beginning of the video, this doesn't really adapt The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings or anything that came before. It does not even adapt the appendices to The Lord of the Rings, which they have boasted that they have the rights for. It's 100% constructed material by Amazon, 100% constructed story. And we all know that at this point. And even those characters who share the names of those characters who appeared in the appendices, such as Galadriel, are unrecognizable and absolutely new. Well then, let us move on. And they are saying Sauron is the big bad, but he's been in power before. Yeah, we know that, my dear friends. They are mentioning it in this little snippet, but he was the chief servant of Morgoth, and he battled, well, with many heroes and elves, so on and so forth. Most famously, in my eyes, I am biased a little bit because my favorite story from the Silmarillion, with Beren and Luthien, or with Luthien, really, in the form of a big bat, and with Huan the Hound in the form of a big werewolf. And even those who have never read the Silmarillion know that, because they have at least seen the Hobbit movies where Galadriel says, go back to the void from whence you came, servant of Morgoth. So there you go. We don't need you, therap.com. Not even the normies need you. Not even the people who have never even laid their eyes on any of the Tolkien's books. This is cracking me up. Galadriel is a fierce warrior, and she's been gaslit. Alright then, let us dive in a little bit more deeply in this one, what therap.com says. Galadriel, who was played by Kate Blanchett in Peter Jackson's films, is essentially the protagonist of The Rings of Power. Much younger than we know her in the films, this Galadriel is an elven warrior of great esteem who has an axe to grind with Sauron. But with her dogged pursuit of this ghost, her fellow elven warriors are beginning to doubt if Sauron is even out there, and her elders are pushing her to move on. So I've made about 1,255 videos about how much they got the character of Galadriel wrong, and that she wasn't a warrior princess at all and whatsoever in anything that Tolkien wrote, that her power and her strength laid in her, well, being the mighty elven sorceress, wielding one of the 3 rings of power, being taught by Melian the Maya, among others, living in Valinor for a long time, and really being I would say, is my opinion, As far as the events of The Lord of the Rings goes, the mightiest character there. Well then, food for thought right there, right? So, but, I mean, everybody, and I have spoken to many people, everybody who's got brains left in their heart absolutely despises this fake version of Galadriel. Because even this version in the Peter Jackson's films, the Kate Blanchett version, was portrayed masterfully. And once again, even people who have never read Tolkien's books have got in their minds engraved Kate Blanchett as Galadriel, who has portrayed Galadriel, well, awesome, in a perfect way. So yeah, once again, wrong. Elves don't really like humans. Was not really true. Now, please don't mistake The Lord of the Rings with The Witcher. There is like clear hate from the side of the elves towards the humans. But of course, Tolkien was perfect in many ways, but among others, at depicting the not racial prejudices, but really tribal prejudices between the different peoples of Middle-earth, as it was and has always been in the real world. Now, you might be lying to your own eyes and ears and saying that we are all united and the entire world loves, each other, and that we should all grasp and hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But people are always forming groups. Just look at different cafeterias at schools. There's always the geeks, always the metalheads. And you look at the tables at, different companies and different schools. And you look at the cafeteria, and in 99% of the cases, people who look similarly will sit at one table. People are segregating on their own, by their own, and have always done that. You can't change that. It's in the human nature. But at the same time, if you have read any of the Tolkien's books, especially then those that deal with the earlier stages of Arda, not the third age, but earlier ones, like the first age and the second age, and you know that there were the children of Ilúvatar. There were elves, and then there were humans. Well, there were dwarves even before, but they were put to sleep because Aule was not allowed to, but that's not the matter of this video. But elves were fascinated by humans. They actually loved them. And yes, there have been struggles between those different races in the history of Arda, but at the same time, there have been huge struggles and atrocities within the individual races. Just look at what Fëanor did. So there you go. You just don't confuse Lord of the Rings with The Witcher. Next one. Hobbits don't exist yet. That's true. There was not a mention of the hobbits in the Second Age, but if you look closely what they write then, absolutely wrong, and they write. So this one's confusing. Yes, there are hobbit-like creatures in the Rings of Power, but no, they're not hobbits. I forgot to use my SJW voice. Why? Because in Tolkien's exhaustive history of his Lord of the Rings universe, he explains that hobbits did not exist in the Second Age. Instead, we see Harfoots, which are precursor race to the hobbits and have a few differences, although they're still tiny, zany, and obsessed with food. No. Harfoots are just one of the 3 different sub-breeds of hobbits. Full stop. Read the books. The next one. The dwarves are living in prosperity. And then they weren't. I mean, it's not as if they were like the untouchable caste in India. And if you read The Lord of the Rings closely, you always read about somebody remembering the Golden Age. The Golden Age has passed. The Golden Age is gone. It is like nowadays, like I always say, oh, I remember the good old times. They were beautiful. It is always about remembering the beautiful and glorious days. The elves are remembering Valinor. The dwarves are remembering the glorious age when they were prosperous. Gondor is now remembering the past and Numenor. So the entire Lord of the Rings is about the fact that the good times have already passed. So there's not really anything new under the sun right there. Another one. Peter Jackson has no involvement in the show, true, and thank gods, but it feels at peace with his films. Have you seen the show? Alright, no, absolutely not. Here, in this case, I can't go any further. I mean, this is all that I need to say. The only instance that feels like Peter Jackson is that insulting rip-off that they did with the Balrog, which they basically used the same design of Balrog that was used in The Lord of the Rings by Peter Jackson. Whatever you think of Balrogs, I'm not getting into any conversation about wings. I think this is stupid. But no, this doesn't absolutely feel like Peter Jackson. And the last one, there will be 5 seasons in total. This scares me, but just think about it. The first season is not good, and most normal people know, or all normal people know that. Almost nobody likes the show, and the second season has already been delayed, and it's going to come out the soonest next year, 2024. So if we were to wait 2 years for another season, and each and every season, now mark my words, will be worse than the previous one, how long do you think it'll take them to cancel the show? I think that we will see at most 3 seasons. At most. So yeah, this was fun, even for an older article. Alright then, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And that will be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.